Did you notice some products were out of stock? When was the last time you tried ordering electronics? Did you face a delay in delivery? Why do you think that's happening? Because of China. It's not a conspiracy theory, it's called a supply chain crisis. Hello and welcome to Gravitas Plus. I'm Palki Sharma Upadhyay. Why? The problem started in China in the year 2020. The Wuhan virus spread through the country. Factories are forced to close. As early as February 2020, Harvard Business Review was predicting a mayhem. It said the most vulnerable companies are those that rely heavily or solely on factories in China. Well, turns out most companies do. You see, China produces 28.7% of the world's goods. It exports goods worth $2.6 trillion every year. From toys to cell phones to laptops, makeup, bridal gowns, China makes all of them. It has cheap labor, it has low taxes. So companies invariably outsource manufacturing to China. It is called the world's factory. But in 2020, China's factories shut down. It could not supply goods to its customers, who had just enough stock to last 15 to 30 days. Then they fell short of supplies. On the 14th of February 2020, Fiat Chrysler Automobiles announced it is temporarily halting production at a car manufacturing factory in Serbia because it cannot get parts from China. Hyundai had to stop plants in Korea because of quote-unquote disruptions in the supply of parts resulting from coronavirus outbreak in China. This virus soon spread, overwhelming one country after another. Factory workers became sick or had to quarantine. Production came to a halt. What happened next? A global supply chain crisis. And to understand this crisis, we must understand what a supply chain is. A supply chain is a network that helps in getting a product from point A to point B. So point A is the factory, the place where the product is made. Point B is the retailer, the place from where you buy the product. Now, getting a product from point A to point B sounds simple. It's not. Take your iPhone, for example. Where do you think it's made? China? Well, yes, it says it's made in China, but China is just one stop along the process. Your iPhone is basically assembled in China. Its parts, the parts that China assembles, come from around the world. 43 countries to be specific. So you could say your iPhone is made in 43 countries. The chips come from Taiwan, the DRAM comes from South Korea, the boxes your phones come in are from the Czech Republic. And you'll be surprised to learn that Apple does not even oversee this manufacturing process. Foxconn does. In short, a supply chain involves multiple players, tens of thousands of workers, several countries, multiple modes of transport. So one delay in one of the points on this chart, like a strike in the Czech Republic, can take the entire supply chain off course by days or months. Now, what happens if there is a crisis at several points of the supply chain? Say in Taiwan, factories are closed because of the Wuhan virus. South Korea's workers have been sent home due to a lockdown. In Czech Republic, truck drivers did not return to work. What happens then? The entire supply chain comes to a halt. It collapses. And this is exactly what was happening by mid-2020, going on to 2021. Demands were high, but supplies had stopped coming in. The United States ran out of ketchup. The United Kingdom ran out of milkshakes at McDonald's. Things got worse in the last few months when countries began reopening. People began going out again, making up for the year-long halt in shopping, checking things off their shopping list. They even began buying things that they wouldn't have bought had there not been work from home and social distancing, like on workstations, laptop tables, spare laptops, smartphones. Since the new normal needed people to spend more time indoors, they even began buying more homes and furniture to furnish those homes. While demand returned, supplies did not. Factories were still not working full scale. Not all workers had returned. Many remained unvaccinated. Many stranded on the wrong side of the border by closures. Transport workers were missing. So the market, you see, was not ready for this buying frenzy. The spike in demand first hit the shipping industry. 90% of the global trade happens via sea. The rise in demand led to the rise in the cost of shipping. It's simple economics. The more the demand, the more the price. Shipping prices rose 85.5% year on year, 85.5%. Consider the world's busiest route. China to US West Coast. The spot rate of last-minute bookings rose to $19,000. The average door-to-door shipping time for cargo went up by 70 days. And ports became overwhelmed with incoming vessels. As we speak, there are billions of dollars of goods stranded off the US coast, but there aren't enough resources to unload those supplies. With cargo containers stranded mid-sea, ports fell short of boxes. Who makes these boxes? The story comes back to China. It is October 2021, and the world needs more containers, but China's factories are closed again. In 2020, when the world needed masks and PPE kits, Chinese factories were closed because of the Wuhan virus. Now, when the world needs other supplies, Chinese factories are closing again, this time because of electricity shortage. China is running out of coal stock, prices have skyrocketed and power plants are reluctant to buy more coal, so power supply has stopped to factories. Estimates say at least 44% of China's industrial activity has been affected by power cuts. The world's factory has stopped working for the second time in 2 years. You see, cheap labor is good, low taxes are good for business too. But what global supply chains need is reliability. 19 years ago, China was hit by a SARS epidemic. Back then, China accounted for 4.3% of the world's GDP. When the Wuhan virus hit, China accounted for 16% of the global GDP. It had grown fourfold, placed itself at the center of numerous supply chains, and set the stage for a supply chain collapse. Now, as India prepares for Diwali, many parents may not be able to give their children a toy of their choice. America will not have enough Christmas trees to light this December. In the United Kingdom, stores have already warned customers that come Christmas, stocks will be limited and discounts bare minimum. Our supply chains are collapsing. And to be fair, China alone is not to be blamed for this. Lack of alternatives, lack of prediction and preparedness. The virus from China closed factories, but the world suffered because it had not invested in alternatives. The virus from China sent the UK's drivers and farm labourers packing, but Britain paid the price for over-reliance on European labour. The virus from China put American workers out of jobs, but America's botched-up unemployment benefits are keeping them from returning to work. Supplies are running out because ports are not prepared to handle increased traffic. Australia is not being able to build houses because it does not have alternative timber sources. China is the story's villain, but it's not the only one. Look at Russia. It is gloating as the United Kingdom runs out of fuel and Europe runs out of gas. Over-dependence on any country is a bad idea. It leaves scope for weaponizing supply chains, arm-twisting nations. The supply chain crisis has taught us that it's time to rethink and re-evaluate global partnerships, create new alliances like the Quad, which aims to create alternative supply chains. It is also time to diversify global supply chains. Former US President Donald Trump had asked firms to move out of China. Japan is willing to pay firms to relocate back to Japan. Well, now is the time to remake those strategies.